One way that I think is so important when it comes to helping couples is to recognize things and the patterns that we see. You know, anytime you work with a particular population of people, it's just like some things that we see that occurs over and over and over again. And one of the capacities that I see within couples is that they struggle to engage in effective conflict resolution. And you know, that's what the brain is all about. Living water is about helping people use godly guidance and invaluable insight so that they can have a lasting love. And so we are embarking on an 11-part series. Yes, 11 parts. And we are going to understand the capacities of love. And so the topic for today is the 7 reasons to understand your capacity of love. All right, so let's get right into it. So, one pattern or one major problem is that individuals in relationships, they have taken the time to focus more on their partner than to take the time that they need to get to know themselves. And so, one of the questions as I pose all the time is, how can you understand your spouse? How can you understand your engaged partner and you don't even know yourself? I mean, think about this. And yes, it's easy to observe people because we are creatures of habit. We have the same patterns, the same habits, the same characteristics. More than likely, most of us haven't really changed from when we were our children. I mean, God, with his infinite power, has definitely transformed us, but he more so transforms our heart, our desires, our motives, our perspectives, and the reasons why we do things, right? He doesn't necessarily change like our personality because he uses our personality. He created our personalities so that we can represent him in a very unique way. And so the reason why I decided to address this particular concern is because I want us to start to understand our lens of capacity to love. Maybe some of the conflicts that we experience is because we lack that capacity. And that capacity of love is really based on a myriad of things. Now, I'm giving a disclaimer. I don't want us to go through the next 11 sessions, parts, articles, videos, whether you are reading the Medium articles or you're checking out the YouTube videos. Like, I don't want you to impose a sense of self-judgment, and I definitely don't want you to start looking at your partner through the lens of judgment and be like, see, that's what it is. You don't have the capacity to love. No, this is not what this is about. The purpose of understanding the reasons of your capacity to love is so that you can self-reflect, so that you can have some self acceptance, and so that you can hold yourself accountable in your intimate relationships. We are so quick to take a look at our partners and what they do and what they don't do. And remember, every time you point that finger, what does the old saying go? 4 fingers point back at you. And so the last video and episode that I uploaded, I shared my work with you and what I do with engaged and married couples regarding dissolving problems versus resolving problems. So I'm just going to do a quick recap. So we all know that water is the universal solvent. It is a polar molecule where water dissolves substances through a process called hydration. And through this process, the molecules of the water, they surround, interact, and polarize the molecules of substances. So if we're going to use water metamorphically like we do in living water, resolving marital issues is like water's power to dissolve substances through hydration. Just as water embraces and interacts with the molecules of a substance, couples must confront their problems head on, engage in open, honest communication. So you see how we're paralleling the power of water to effectively resolving conflicts within your marriage. Water is so powerful. And even in the Christian faith, which I subscribe to, there are so many water references in the Bible. And the foundational scripture for living waters and what I bring to you is John chapter 4 verse 10, and it pretty much is the Samaritan woman at the well, and Jesus met the woman at the well, and she was drawing water, and he was like, well, if you asked me for water, you would never thirst again, and I'm paraphrasing, and she's like, well, where can I find this water? And it's like Jesus is the living water, and when you drink the living water of Jesus, you will never thirst again. So before we can have fresh water, clear waters, and sacred waters in our relationship, we have to first go to the living water, the source of where we can refresh ourselves, where we can clear the problems in our relationships, and where we can create sacred waters where nothing or no one can get in the middle of our marriages and intimate relationships. And so, just like the water surrounds and interacts with substances, couples, what they should do, they need to polarize and understand the different components causing the conflicts within their relationships. Because we got to understand, it's not just one thing that causes problems. Most times, problems are layered. They are layered with childhood experiences, layered with needs, desires, unrealistic expectations, paradigms, traumas, religion, faith, culture, nationalities, socioeconomic, conditions. Think about it. Problems aren't just one thing, and problems aren't one size fit all. Even if couples experience the same problems in their relationships, the reason why they experience those problems are completely different and layered with so many variables. And so it is only through empathy, compromise, and efforts that we can find common ground. And the main common ground is our love for Jesus Christ and our love for each other. So couples work towards dissolving their conflicts so that they can do what? They can create a harmonious, serene, beautiful atmosphere where the loving waters just flow. All right. So just like water's ability to act as a universal solvent, couples need to have the dedication to resolve issues. And so they got to learn how to facilitate emotional healing. First, you need to facilitate that emotional healing within yourself, because we get married and we expect for our spouses to be our one all, end all, be all. And years ago, in Esther Perel, you guys know I love Esther Perel, and she talks about this in her talk. She was like, there was mother and father and friends and family. People lived in a huge community of people. They did not just depend on their spouse to be their best friend, to be their business partner, to be their workout buddy, I don't know, whatever else that we expect our spouses to be. That is too much pressure to put on one person to ascribe to so many roles in our life. We cannot do that to our spouses. We cannot do that to our partners, right? And so we got to learn how to facilitate emotional healing within ourselves. And when you can facilitate that emotional healing within yourself, then you are better equipped to facilitate that healing with your intimate partner. So I became aware of my own capacity of love probably about 9 years, within 9 years of marriage to William. Now, our capacities to love are absolutely different. And the majority of that reason is rooted in our upbringings. We both grew up with like the old school concepts of having the matriarch in the family. Our grandmothers kept the families together, right? And they led the families, and everything was centered around grandma or granny, right? William's grandma is granny, right? And my grandma was grandma Love. And so another concept that we like both grew up with is about keeping house, you know. And I'm going to translate that, you know, making sure you keep a clean house. Well, we called it, you need to know how to keep house. And so, you know, we cleaned, like William talks about all the time, how they had to scrub the baseboards with a toothbrush. Like granny wasn't playing with them, you know, and they did that every Saturday. And so, however, you know, William, he grew up with his paternal and maternal side of the family, you know, and they were actively engaged. He knew all of his father's uncles and aunts and nephews and cousins, and he even is a legacy. William, my husband, is William Webb the Fourth. His son is William Webb the Fifth. There's generations of the William Webbs, and my husband is a part of that lineage. So, and he comes from this stock of entrepreneurship, community activism, and political engagement. Like that's who he is. He knows who he is and where he comes from on both sides. Well, me, I grew up with one of my maternal aunts. I was separated from my three siblings at the age of 2. Child Protective Services came and took us away, and we each were placed in a kinship home. And it was all within the maternal family. I did not know my father's side of the family. And I saw my siblings and my mother, you know, I saw them regularly, don't get me wrong, but I went to go and visit them. We didn't all live in the same house. And so William learned to love because he's a legacy, because he had his mother, his father. He grew up in the same household with his sibling. Like he was with his family. They split summers and weekends and Saturdays with both sides of the family. I had to learn myself, and I had to learn others through God's love. And when I began to learn about God and learn about myself and learn just about how he created people just in general, meaning that we're all imperfect, we all have idiosyncrasies and peculiarities, and just it's just so much that comes to the multi-dimensional human being. That's when I learned to love me. It was through the love of Christ that I learned to love myself. So every couple has a different capacity and willingness to grow depending on the two individual parties within that relationship. So again, contingent upon your upbringing, personality, temperament, biology, your paradigm, your experiences, and the like, each individual has a different capacity to love. See, love is the foundation for all intimate relationships. In all actuality, it is the foundation for all relationships because God is love. And he so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son to die for us. So it is necessary for couples to resolve any relationship issue, and they need to resolve it through their capacity to love. And so now, let's get into the 7 reasons why it is important to know and to understand why you should be aware of the capacities to love. So, understanding your capacity to love is important, because it helps individuals, one, navigate relationships more consciously, 2, advocate for healthier connections, 3, gain personal fulfillment, 4, become self-aware, 5, set personal boundaries, 6, Understand relationship compatibilities. And 7, know the difference between settling and satisfaction, right? And so when you think about each one, being able to navigate relationships more consciously, when you understand your capacity to love, you know your limits. Think about it. You know what you can give. And if you give beyond your threshold, is that being authentic? Are you giving more of yourself than you are able? Are you going to make a sacrifice and expect something in return? And then when you don't get it, you're going to become resentful? Think about it. So being able to navigate relationships more consciously is important. You need to know that. So let's take a look at the second one. Advocate for healthier connections. Yes, when you understand your capacity to love, you are able to advocate for yourself. Hey, I have the capacity, and I'm just using this as an example. I have the capacity to love, at the size of a lake, right? Well, what does that mean to you? And so, do you need someone to match your capacity of a size of a lake? Or you have love at the size and capacity of a lake, that it's okay if your partner loves at the capacity of a pond. That's okay. Because you don't necessarily need, you have more to give than you really need to receive. Also, when you understand your capacity to love, you gain personal fulfillment. Think about this. You know who you are. You know your limitations. You know what you bring to the table. You know what you need from your partner. And then you can begin to get what you need because you understand your capacity. Hey, I have the capacity of a lake, but I need my partner to have a capacity of an ocean. And I understand that. It also helps you to become more self-aware, right? Like, what do I need? How do I respond? If I've ran out of my capacity, what does that look like physiologically? Or what does it feel like physiologically? What does that look like in my behaviors and interactions? What does that sound like in my tone and the speech and my word choice, right? And setting those personal boundaries. Hey, look, I only have the capacity of a lake. Please do not expect for me to do more than what I can actually do. I can't give you what I don't have. You can't get blood out of a gnat, right? Understanding relationship compatibilities. Again, I'm in a capacity of a lake. You're in a capacity of a puddle. Sweetie, this probably isn't going to work because I need more from you. And I want to feel like I'm constantly giving and you're not meeting me at my point of need. And then knowing the difference between settling and satisfaction. When you understand your capacity to love, you know if you are settling for that pond capacity or if you're going to get the satisfaction that you need from the ocean capacity. All right. So regarding William and I, number 6, understanding relationship compatibilities really stands out when it comes to our marriage. And again, through my relationship with God and through just interacting with William and understanding him and getting to know myself, I realized that I need a lot of love and I need a lot of affection. And it just so happens I am married to a man that has the capacity of an ocean and he just pours love out. And when we think about Maslow's hierarchy of needs, that theory teaches us that after the physiological and safety needs are met, that each of us needs love and that sense of belonging. So my upbringing met the first 2 levels of my needs. Please don't get me wrong. I had everything I need and I was physically safe. But the circumstances around my parents and not being raised by them and not growing up in the same household with my siblings, it kept me searching for love in a place that I could call home. So, this self awareness really helps me to accept my capacity to love, no matter how big or how small. And again, I'm not placing judgment on myself because of my capacity to love. It just helps me to better understand myself. It helps me to better navigate when I'm talking with William. I'm able to advocate for myself with with William in our marriage and our intimate relationship. And so I hope it does the same for you. If you stick around for the next 10 parts of this 11-part series, with this being the very first one, I want to help you understand your capacities to love so that you can effectively navigate your relationships, so that you can create the harmonious atmosphere within your marriage, so that if you are engaged and you're going into your marriage, you know what to expect from your partner, you understand your capacity and limitations, and you guys can go into your marriage more aware, so you won't put unrealistic expectations on one another. All right. And so again, I just said thank you so much for being here. You can go ahead and like and subscribe. Please put your comments about what you think. If you are a reader and you want to read, go ahead over to Medium. I have the link of the article below in the description. I am also on Threads and X. And so if you like to follow me over there, I would love to build community with you. And you can find me on Threads and X at _just Letitia. All right. God bless you.